Hello everyone. Topic: the James Comey Senate Intelligence Committee hearings and my analysis of that. Okay, I actually had Krabby Appleton, one of my favorite subscribers, tell me she sat through the entire 4 hours of the video. Wow. I watched about an hour and 15 minutes of it and it nearly put me in a coma. So I got the rest of it from the transcript, which I was able to read in about an hour. So God bless you, Krabby. I'm glad you could sit through it, because I surely couldn't. But anyway, here's my analysis of it. First, I want to give just a broad general overview. Obviously, I cover and specifically focus on the Towergate portion of all of this, the surveillance of Trump. And that's what my Towergate videos apply to. And I was hoping we would hear, quite a bit of stuff come out yesterday in the questioning regarding that. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So basically what was happening in that hearing yesterday, I'd say 75% of it had to do with the Hillary Clinton emails being rehashed again. Then we had a little bit of Russia-Trump collusion. We had some Russian election hacking. We had a little bit of the leakers, questions about the leakers going on. And also generally just some questions about James Comey's conduct, comparing how he treated Hillary compared to how he treated Trump in terms of the various ongoing investigations. Now, the thing I noticed most of all, I want to focus now just on James Comey himself, because we've had a chance to sit back and watch James Comey now for about 6 or 8 months since the email fiasco first broke out. So I've had a lot of time to look at James Comey and kind of get a feel for what this guy's all about. And it seems to me that he's got some kind of a God complex. It's almost like he kind of sees himself as this arbiter of truth, that he can sit there, on his high perch there at the FBI and evaluate people's, what they feel, what they believe, what their intentions were, whether they're good or bad. It's almost like he's got this complex where he's this moral arbiter of all things good and evil, that he can look across the landscape at all the criminal activity being conducted out there, and he can somehow make a moral judgment on who meant to do this, who didn't mean to do this, what caused them to do this, and all these sort of things, as opposed to doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is his job, his role at the FBI is that he's a cop. He is supposed to investigate crimes. Then, if he investigates a crime and finds that there's reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed, he is supposed to then pass it over to the legal part of the operation, which is the Attorney General. And then they look at it and determine if they want to bring charges. If they do, then they'll go ahead and get a prosecutor. They'll convene a jury, bring in a judge. The jury will hear the case and determine the guilt or innocence, and then the judge will render a verdict. But James Comey is able to put himself in the position, particularly with the email situation and other situations as well, where he's able to sit back and determine that he can cover all parts of the process. He can look at this individual and determine that he can be the jury, the judge, and the prosecutor. He can do it all, because he has this extraordinary ability to go beyond where those of us who are simply mortal, where we can go in understanding crimes. And this is not really his role, but seems to me that he's got this God complex, that he seems to do this, and that's just my opinion. You guys out there may not agree with me, but I get the feeling that he's got some kind of a God complex. And the reason I say that is because as we're going through those hearings, he kept going back to the point over Hillary's emails that in fact that he didn't see any criminal intent. But I've read the statute, and the statute doesn't say anything about criminal intent. It talks about criminal negligence. Was the person guilty of criminal negligence in handling classified information? And when you look at what Hillary did, clearly she and Huma both were guilty of criminal negligence. It doesn't say anything about what their intent was, but James Comey, being the arbiter of all things moral, can determine, he and he alone, what her intentions were, and therefore, in his mind, that nullifies what is in the statute the standard, which is criminal negligence. So I just get this feeling that Comey's got this God complex, and that I don't really, I think it's more of an excuse, obviously. He has to find some way to spin himself out of the situation, because if you look at the criminal statute, Hillary and Huma both qualify. They were both guilty of criminal negligence. Doesn't matter what their intentions were. It's what they actually did. But, of course, he chose to be the prosecutor, the investigator, the jury, and the judge, and the whole 9 yards, and determine that they were not guilty, that they didn't intend to commit this crime. So, excuse me, the entire spectacle, which is what it is just badly flawed. And James Comey, in my mind, is badly flawed. You know, there's a point, excuse me, there's a point there where he's talking, and he actually volunteers something that's just extraordinary. He says, you know, we couldn't find the first 3 months of Hillary's emails. And I'm thinking, well, if you can't find the first 3 months of her emails, where did they go? Where did they go? They had to go somewhere. Clearly, if he cannot find the first 3 months of her emails, which should be stored on a .gov, but they're not, then that tells you that she did something with them. They're gone. They didn't just disappear into the ether on their own. Somebody helped them to disappear. And that somebody was Hillary Clinton. He says right there in his statement, I don't think he meant to say that. It slipped. We couldn't, well, you know, the first problem we had is we couldn't find her first 3 months of emails as Secretary of State. What's that tell you? That tells you she made them disappear. That in itself is a criminal indictment of criminal negligence. Man, oh man. And then he's talking, and of course we know that he's talking about Huma. Huma had called Weiner, her husband, you know, Anthony Dick Pick Weiner, had called him and had him, she would tell him over the phone, yeah, go ahead and pull up this classified document on the laptop and print that for me, and then I need to email that to somebody else. So clearly she had pure intentions of having her husband, Dick Pick Weiner, access these classified materials to print them out or to email them to someone she wanted to email them to. That's intent. Are we supposed to believe that she didn't know what she was doing? This is classified information that she and everyone in Hillary's crew were supposed to have been read up on, were supposed to have been schooled on, and signed off that they understood about how to handle classified information. So his entire argument of letting Hillary and Huma off the hook because they didn't have intent. You know, when I was in the military, I saw 2 cases of people who went to Leavenworth, hard labor, for far less. And we know there's been thousands of people go to jail for mishandling classified documents who did far less. I had an individual who worked in the same section I did, and we used code books, and we were always told never, ever, ever put the code books in your pockets or anything like that, because you might accidentally walk out with them in your pocket, which is exactly what this guy did. He was on shift, he put a code book in his pocket, and then when he got off shift, he left, he went back to the barracks. The next guys came on shift, they go looking for the code book, it's not there. Total panic. You lose the code book, that's a big problem. So they're looking for the code book, they go to the guys who were on shift before, sure enough, they find it was in his pocket. Shortly thereafter, once they recovered that code book, the MPs came and hauled him away, and he went to Leavenworth and did hard time. I don't know how much because we never saw him again, but we know he got court-martialed and sent to Leavenworth for hard time. Now, so, you know, it happens all the time. We had the guy recently who sent the picture to his mom of him in a submarine. He's in jail right now. So, this happens all the time. People mishandle classified information. Hillary did it purposely, intentionally. She made her first 3 months of emails disappear. We don't know where they're at. Then she set up a private, unencrypted, illegal server in her home, knowing good and well what she was doing. And these are premeditated acts. These are not a situation where she didn't know what she was doing. Clearly, she meets the statute, which says criminal negligence. It's the textbook definition of criminal negligence. Doesn't matter what your intent was. So those Democrats on the committee who were hounding James Comey, both they and Hillary Clinton, she blames James Comey, they should be thanking James Comey, because any other prosecutor under any other situation, and Hillary and Huma would both be in prison. So that's my general take on Comey himself and some of these people on that Senate committee. And I'll tell you, watching the video and looking at some of these people, you had Leahy, what's her name, Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America, Feinstein. Some of these people on that committee are senile. I mean, they literally are senile. They need a checkup from the neck up. In fact, there should be a rule or a law or something that members of Congress have to have a mental evaluation every 2 years, because I'm pretty sure that Patrick Leahy, whatever his name is, along with Feinstein, Pelosi, Maxine Waters, these people are not mentally competent, and they are making decisions about trillions of dollars, war and peace, life and death. These are the people. Scary. So now I want to touch on a few specific highlights, or should I call them lowlights, that occurred during this particular dog and pony show. First of all, we had our good friend Lindsey Graham, who is basically a salesman for the military-industrial complex. That's who he represents. You folks in South Carolina, in case you didn't know that, he doesn't represent you. He represents the military-industrial complex. He and his good friend John McCain, who I'm pretty sure have a swanky little pad somewhere down in Georgetown where they shine each other's heinies. I'll leave that up to your imagination as to how they go about doing that. Now, every single question that Graham asked, and he was the guy who was mostly focused on Russia and Russia's interference in the elections. And it was Lindsey Graham, almost every question that he asked, you can tell he asked the question because he wanted a specific answer that he can then use, so that when he goes on his TV shows and things like that, that he'll have these soundbite quotes from James Comey to help make his case for getting more weapons contracts, for starting more wars, including, hey, let's have a war with Russia. That's a fantastic idea. A military nuclear superpower. What a wonderful idea. And just this whole idea, and then he asked Comey about this going through the Russia thing. And Comey actually says this. I actually wrote it down. It's right here. It's a quote. Graham is asking Comey about the Russian involvement in U.S. elections, and Comey's like, "Oh yes, we're certain that that the Russians absolutely are involved in our elections and other elections, by the way, and we know that because there were Russian trolls online, and they need to be countered." So he's making, please, James Comey, tell me that the Federal Bureau of Investigation is not basing their Russian involvement in our elections based on the fact that there were Russian trolls during the election going online and posting nasty comments about Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders or whoever. This whole Russian thing. Yes, we've got Vladimir Putin, and he's got billions and billions of trolls going all around the world, going into all these Democrats, and going into all their websites and posting comments to turn the elections. And when they get done with Brexit, fixing that election, they go to Hillary Clinton and fix that election. Now they're working on Merkel, and when they get done, they'll be helping to get Le Pen elected, because the Russian trolls working for Vladimir Putin are busy comrades. Yes, that's right. That's what we've got. James, the fact of the matter is, look, Russia has got an economy smaller than that of Italy. They are the 14th largest economy in the world, which is not very good when you're a military superpower. They've got issues, man. Putin is a busy guy. He's dealing with Turkey, who's a NATO member, who he has extremely difficult relations with over national security issues. He has economic issues. Very, very important. He has to deal with that. He's got NATO lining anti-missile systems like a picket fence all down his western border. He's got a population that they're dying for people. They're paying people, giving tax incentives for people to have more babies, because over 100 years of the Soviet Union, 2 world wars, including one where they lost 23 million people, they don't have enough people living there to support the people who will be getting older in the future. They have the largest country in the world, 13 time zones, half of which is worthless. It's Siberia. You can't grow a damn thing there, but you got to defend it. They have financial issues. Their economy is shrinking. The ruble is falling. Inflation is high. It's about 10-11%. Pretty soon, sometime this summer, they're going to run out of money. They will have to borrow money just to operate their government. For the past 5 years, the two major sources of income for Russia are natural gas and oil. With the past 5 years, it's costing them more to pull a barrel of oil out of the ground than what they make selling it. They've got big problems. They got one intelligence agency, really, the FSB. We've got 16. All the Europeans have intelligence agencies. Yet we're led to believe that Vladimir Putin is hacking into the DCC, the DNC, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, every organization they can tap into because they got billions and billions of dollars, thousands and thousands of agents who do nothing all day but sit around and hack and hack and hack and hack away. Man, oh man. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. Sometimes it's almost like I feel like I've been thrown into a Wayback Machine and thrown back to my childhood to an old black and white rerun of Underdog. Here he comes to save the day, Underdog. You know, it's tough. It's tough. So anyway, we got Lindsey Graham and prolonging the Russian conspiracy, which is insanity. Absolute insanity. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, here's another good one. James Comey invents a new word for WikiLeaks. He's calling it intelligence porn. That's right, intelligence porn. Yes, so he's okay. He's asked, oh yeah, well, it's okay. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, BuzzFeed. Yeah, they can all leak classified information from their sources. Oh, that's okay. They protect journalists for that. They don't go after the journalists. They just go after the leaker. And God knows Comey's all after them leakers. I'll be getting right to that. But as far as WikiLeaks and Assange, oh, that's porn. Yes, that's intelligence porn. That's what that is. And they're going to file charges against WikiLeaks because he's working with the Russians. Despite the fact that he said he has nothing to do with the Russians, despite the fact that about 5 years ago, WikiLeaks released a bunch of very damaging financial information on a bunch of oligarchs about their offshore banking, which included both Putin and Medvedev, whatever his name is, the little guy. That's right. So this whole idea that Russia hacking into everything, they're turning elections, they're fixing elections, they're working with WikiLeaks. This whole Russian narrative is just ridiculous. Makes no sense whatsoever. Doesn't add up. But yes, they're asking Comey about the leaks. Oh yeah, they're all over those leakers. They take leaking. James Comey, he takes leaking very seriously. Well, how long ago was it that the leaks of Michael Flynn's conversation came out? What's that been, about 5 months ago? Still working on that, James? What leakers have you busted, James? Leakers coming everywhere. Everywhere we're getting leaks. James Comey's right on it. Haven't found a damn one of them. And let's face it, that came out of signal intelligence. There's not that many people in signal intelligence. By now, the Honorable James Comey should have sniffed that one out. I could have found the leaker by now. Very simple. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So it was just really a dog and pony show. Yeah, he's going after those leakers. Got that, going after the intelligence porn. Unbelievable. Yes, Feinstein. Yeah, and Feinstein, you know, it's just insane to me because never does Feinstein, when she's asking all these questions of Comey and trying to figure out, well, why did you do the Comey letter? Why did you do the Comey letter 11 days before the election? And there's James Comey sitting there acting like he's about to cry. Well, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I had to do the letter. I just had to do it. I wasn't going to do it, but then, Bill Clinton had the meeting on the airplane with Loretta Lynch, and then I just had to. I had two doors, and one door said fucked up, and the other said more fucked up, and so... Look, man, not a single... She's sitting there trying to decipher all this, asking these questions. It never dawns on Dianne Feinstein that she's so worried about security, Lindsey Graham so worried about security, the Honorable James Comey, the moral arbiter of this planet, talking about all this stuff. It never dawns on them that Hillary Clinton had thousands of classified emails, 22 SAP emails, so secret that the government won't even admit that these programs exist. They're not worried about that at all. They're worried about WikiLeaks and Putin and the Russians. They're hacking elections. They're doing all this. Never dawns on them to think what kind of... Do you think that maybe the Russians got a hold of those thousands of classified emails? Do you think maybe the Russians got a hold of those 22 SAP programs? That never dawns on them. The entire hearing, 4 hours, focused on, why did you do it, James? Why did you do the Comey letter? It was just so horrible. You cost Hillary the election. But it never dawns on them that the real issue they should be talking about is what happened to those emails. 3 months, the first 3 months of the State Department emails don't exist. He's not worried about that. I mean, they just leave it there. It's like, no one bothered to ask, all those senile people sitting there, no one bothered to say, James, by the way, before we go, we were talking about those 3 months worth of emails. Are you the least bit curious whether or not Mr. Putin may have those emails? No, that question doesn't come up. The 22 SAP programs, no, they don't seem to have much concern. They got intelligence porn going on with Assange. They have a problem with that, but they don't seem to have any problem or any concern or regard for the fact that you've got thousands of classified emails, 22 SAP programs that are probably sitting on Vladimir Putin's laptop. He's probably reading them right now. Yes, and somebody's got time. I know he's busy fixing the election in France, like he fixed the election, the Brexit, like he fixed our elections. He's working on Merkel. He's even going to fix the elections in Madagascar. You just watch and see. So, absolutely unbelievable. We're dealing with people here, my friends, who are senile, have God complexes, live in a reality that none of us can even possibly imagine. So watching these hearings, and my analysis of it is that it's it's comedy. And to be quite honest with you, I have to laugh because if I took this stuff seriously, I would have to go have a drink, and I don't drink. I do drink V8. This is the V8 juice, the berry juice. Love this stuff. I also drink 2 cans a day of the vegetable juice. That's 4 servings of vegetables every day from V8 and the juice. Gotta have them both. Love it. So anyway, this will prolong my life long enough to see thousands of more hearings that will produce exactly the same thing that these hearings will produce, which is absolutely nothing but a complete shit show, political theater, a dog and pony show, senile people living in some sort of a strange reality that the rest of us can't even begin to imagine. I mean, if any of us would have done any of the stuff that Hillary and Homa did, it's just, I mean, he finds he finds thousands of classified emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop that he's using to send dick pics across the country to underage girls. That's not really, he couldn't find anything though. Yeah, they went through 600,000 emails in 3 days. Couldn't find anything. Gave her the all clear. You're good, Hillary. Now get in there and get that national security clearance that you need to be president so you can review all that classified information. Forget the fact that you don't know that C means classified. Wow. So I don't know what you do with this stuff, folks, but that's my analysis. Nothing really has anything to do with Towergate. It was mainly about rehashing the Hillary Clinton emails. A little bit of Russia bashing. Comey's still trying to find the leakers because he takes that very seriously. And, that's what we got. So, anyway, that's the best analysis I can do of something, I I just don't know what to say. It's crazy. Anyway, that's my analysis. But next week we will be getting James Comey back, and he'll be dealing specifically with his relationship with Christopher Steele and the dossier. So they'll be, I'm sure, grilling him real hard on that, and we'll find out. And hopefully James Comey doesn't have the same relationship with Christopher Steele that McCain has with Lindsey Graham. And if he does, I don't want to know about it. Okay, so you guys have a good day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for Towergate, and we'll just keep following this insane, whatever it is. Whatever it is. I don't know. We'll keep following it, though. Maybe we'll figure out when it's over exactly what it is. See y'all. Bye.